It was the moment he called me hopeless in front of everyone that I felt something deep inside finally break. Not in a loud way, but in the kind of way that can never be repaired. Saturday night, we were sitting at the Rusty Olive in Columbus, Ohio, at this oversized table by the window. The place was lively, full of laughter, but our corner was just ice. You know, the kind of cold that isn't on your skin but right in your chest. That's what I felt, surrounded by people I barely knew, friends of my husband, actually. And for the first time since we got married, I realized I was a guest in my own life. My name is Maya Turner, 34, and I work as an operations analyst at a small logistics company just outside the city. I'm not fancy, but I pay my own bills. My husband Owen is 2 years older, a tech support lead for a big telecom. He's not flashy either, but he's always kept the house running, the car gassed up and groceries in the fridge. That night, I put on my favorite green dress. Owen always said he loved how it matched my eyes. But the moment I got in the car, he looked me up and down, smirked, and said, "You sure you want to wear that old thing out?" He didn't even look at me when he said it, just scrolled through his phone. I shrugged it off and told myself it was just stress from his week. At the restaurant, he barely held the door for me. I tried to be upbeat, complimented his haircut. He muttered, "Did it myself," and didn't even look up. At the table, we met with his friends, Aaron and Casey, who I'd only met twice before, and a couple named Layla and her new boyfriend, Mike. Everyone ordered cocktails. I got a simple white wine. Owen pointed at me and said, "Don't let her fool you. She can barely handle a glass before she's giggling like a teenager." People laughed politely, but I felt my cheeks flush. I tried to join the conversation, asked Mike about his job, but before he could answer, Owen cut in. "She's an analyst, but don't ask her to explain what she does. You'll be asleep in 5 minutes." The table laughed a little too hard. Even Layla, who I barely knew, shot me a sympathetic look. I tried to steer the topic to something safe, the new park opening downtown. Owen interrupted me, loudly. "Oh, here we go. You can give your speech about community green spaces another time, Maya." He reached for the bread, slamming it on his plate with a grin. The silence after that was heavy. Casey twirled her straw, Aaron looked at his phone, and I just stared at my hands in my lap, willing myself not to cry. I excused myself, muttered something about needing air, and Owen didn't even look up as I left. Outside, the night was crisp. I wrapped my arms around myself and tried to slow my breathing. A few minutes later, Layla came out to check on me. She offered me a cigarette, which I turned down, but I thanked her for being kind. She said quietly, "You don't deserve how he talks to you in there. You really don't." That almost broke me, hearing someone, anyone, finally say it out loud. I went back inside. They were already ordering dessert. Owen looked at me and said, "Get the tiramisu, Maya. It's the only thing you can't mess up." And that, right there, was the moment I decided I was done. I'd spent years being his prop, his punchline, his emotional safety net. That was the last time. That night, when we got home, I didn't argue. I just went to bed, facing away from him. We barely spoke for days. He left for work early, came home late, barely said a word. I ate alone every night, and I realized I was more comfortable in that silence than I'd ever been in his company. The following Wednesday, everything changed. It was 8:46 p.m. I remember because I was half watching an old sitcom and half trying to read a book. My phone buzzed, a message from Layla. She wrote, "I don't know if you want to hear from me, but I think you deserve to know something about Owen." My heart dropped. Then another message, this time a screenshot. It was a text chain between Owen and someone saved as Tessa, a woman from his office. I'd met her once at a company barbecue. The message from Owen read, "Don't worry, she's still clueless. I'll come by Friday after she's at yoga." The reply, "Can't wait. Did you tell her about us yet?" My hands shook. I stared at the screen, numb. Layla messaged again, "I'm sorry. I saw them together last week at the gallery. He had his hand on her back. I should have told you sooner." I didn't reply. I just sat there, feeling the foundation of my life crumble. I waited until Owen was asleep before I quietly took his iPad from the living room. He used the same passcode for everything, his birthday, so predictable. I opened his messages, heart pounding. There it all was. Weeks and weeks of messages with Tessa. "Wish you were here instead of her. She's so boring. You make me feel alive again." I closed the iPad and sat in the dark, hands shaking, the world spinning. I thought about every time I'd brought him coffee, every time I'd listened to his rants about work, every time I'd told myself he was just stressed, just tired, just not himself. The next morning, I called my friend Jada, who's a paralegal at a firm downtown. I told her everything. She told me to screenshot and save every message, every piece of proof. By Friday, I'd created a file with everything, dates, texts, photos, all of it. I printed it out, put it in a folder, and hid it in my closet. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet, but having it there, physical, in my hands, made me feel like I had some power for the first time in years. That Saturday, I found Tessa's husband on Facebook. His name was Brian. I sent him a message. "Hi, Brian. I believe we need to talk privately. It's about your wife and my husband." He replied almost instantly. We met at a quiet cafe the next afternoon. I handed him the folder. He didn't cry. He just nodded, looked away and said, "I knew something was off." When I got home, Owen was in the shower. I packed a small suitcase for him. His favorite shirts, his chargers, a photo of his late father that he always kept by the bed. I left it by the front door, next to the folder, and a note. "The truth found me. You're free now. So am I." He came out, towel around his waist, confused at first, then panicked as he read the messages. "He went through my stuff," he hissed. I looked him in the eyes for the first time in weeks and said quietly, "I didn't have to." "You left the door wide open." He tried to defend himself, to twist it around, to blame me for being distant, for not caring enough. I didn't even respond. I just walked to the door, opened it, and said, "You should go. Tessa's waiting." He grabbed his suitcase and left. The silence that followed was electric, not lonely, not scary, just peace. He tried to call. He tried to text. He even showed up at work once, but I didn't answer, didn't look back. When you finally choose yourself over someone who spent years convincing you that you weren't enough, the best thing you can do is let that silence teach them what real loss feels like. The best revenge, I learned, is not anger or even justice. It's peace. It's living your life so fully and so quietly that the echo of your absence rings louder than any fight ever could. And for the first time in years, that's exactly what I did.